Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World and this is World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines. Fresh clashes break out along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, with both countries accusing each other of initiating unprovoked attacks. Firefight occurs in Afghanistan's Bodak amid heightened tensions. Vladimir Putin leaves Delhi after a full day of engagements, including India-Russia annual summit and state banquet. Visit features strategic announcements highlighting cooperation in defense, energy, and trade ties. Delhi's IGI airport says Indigo flight operations are steadily resuming after a major disruption on Friday, which saw over 1,000 cancellations. SpiceJet says it will operate 100 extra flights over the next 2 to 3 days amid crisis.
I deserve it. I settled 8 wars, so have a good time, everybody.
U.S. President Donald Trump receives FIFA's new Peace Prize at the 2026 World Cup draw in Washington. Presented by FIFA President Gianni Infantino, praises the honor, claiming he has contributed to global safety. Ukrainian and U.S. officials to hold a third straight day of talks in Miami today, with Washington saying the two sides agree that real progress would depend on Russia's willingness to end the war. Donald Trump's new national security strategy intensifies his attacks on Europe, calling it over-regulated, censorious, and threatened by immigration, while accusing it of relying too heavily on U.S. support. Palestinian Health Ministry says Israeli forces killed a 38-year-old man in the northern West Bank. Israeli military claims its troops opened fire after a violent confrontation involving rock throwing. Ten university students died and 3 were injured in a restaurant fire in southeastern Peru as they gathered for a birthday celebration. Police say victims were from a teacher training college. U.S. consumer spending cooled in September, rising just 0.3% as high prices and weaker hiring pressured households. Inflation picked up again, with the PCE index logging its fastest increase in a year and a half, signaling the Fed's battle isn't over yet. Now, tensions continue in the West Bank as ongoing Israeli military operations and settler violence worsen the humanitarian crisis. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported that 1 person was killed after IDF fire. According to Palestinian officials, Israeli troops were patrolling in Odala area and threw tear gas canisters at men who were exiting a local mosque after Friday prayer, and a 38-year-old man, Rashid, was killed by live fire in the clashes that followed. However, Israeli forces say that some terrorists pelted rocks in the troops' direction and a violent confrontation occurred, following which IDF opened fire and hit one person. It added that the forces have completed a 2-week counter-terrorism operation in the West Bank, during which 6 militants were killed and dozens of suspects were questioned. Well, furthermore, protesters gathered in the West Bank village of Beit Lid to demonstrate against the establishment of an Israeli outpost. But the event turned tense as Israeli military forces were present. The protesters ran for cover as the situation escalated. Now, this incident is part of a larger pattern of conflict in the region, with Palestinians expressing concerns over Israeli settlement expansion and land confiscation. Meanwhile, the foreign ministers of 8 countries, including Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, have expressed deep concern over Israel's plan to open the Rafah crossing only for Palestinians to leave Gaza, citing it as an attempt to expel the Palestinian people from their land. They emphasize adherence to the U.S.-brokered peace plan, which includes keeping the crossing open in both directions and ensuring freedom of movement for Palestinians. The ministers also rejected any forced displacement of the people. In another development, Ireland's national broadcaster has announced it will boycott the 2026 Eurovision Song Contest in protest of Israel's participation, citing the tragic loss of lives in Gaza and the ongoing humanitarian crisis. Now, this move follows the European Broadcasting Union's decision to allow Israel to compete in the contest scheduled to take place in Vienna in May 2026. Now, tensions have once again flared between Pakistan and Afghanistan as both the nations exchanged heavy fire along their volatile shared border late last night. The cross-border violence comes just days after a fresh round of peace talks ended without any significant breakthrough. Now, clashes erupted late Friday in the tense border region near the Afghan district of Spin Bodak in Kandahar province and the Pakistani border town of Chaman. The exchange of fire reportedly broke out around 10:30 p.m. local time, with residents reporting the use of light and heavy artillery. According to the head of information and culture in Spin Bodak, Ali Muhammad Hakmal, the fighting ended after nearly 2 hours. While local officials confirmed the clashes have since ended, there have been no immediate reports of casualties. The officials from both the sides have traded accusations of launching unprovoked attacks, while Afghan Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid stated that Pakistani forces initiated the aggression. Pakistan's Prime Minister's spokesperson Musharraf Zaidi swiftly blamed the Afghan side. According to reports, Afghan forces claimed Pakistani troops abandoned 30 outposts without resistance. Now, the tensions escalated after a new round of peace talks between the two neighbors ended without a breakthrough last weekend in Saudi Arabia. This was despite agreeing to continue their fragile ceasefire. The talks, hosted by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey, aimed to ease tensions following deadly border clashes in October that left dozens killed, marking the worst violence on the border since the Taliban took power in Afghanistan in 2021. Islamabad continues to accuse Kabul of harboring militant groups, particularly the Pakistani Taliban or TTP, who Pakistan says are launching attacks within its borders. Taliban government denies these allegations, saying it is not responsible for security inside Pakistan. All right, moving to the Russia-Ukraine war now. A Ukrainian drone struck a skyscraper in Russian-controlled Chechnya. That houses several government houses and businesses, causing a fire and rupture that spanned multiple floors. The region's ruler, Ramzan Kadyrov, has called the attack an attempt to intimidate civilian population and create what he described as illusion of pressure. Now, he warned that a Russian response would not be long coming. The latest escalation comes amid ongoing peace talks with Ukraine and U.S. heading into a third straight day of high-stakes talks in Miami. Washington says these talks hinge on Moscow's willingness to negotiate seriously. Now, President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner have been meeting top Ukrainian negotiator Rustem Umerov and Andrei Ignatov, the chief of staff of Kiev's armed forces. Now, this follows their meeting earlier in the week with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov described the 5-hour meeting as cordial and praised Kushner joining the talks. Now, despite the friendly meeting, Moscow rejected parts of the peace proposal. A readout from Witkoff says that both sides agree that real progress depends on Moscow showing commitment to long-term peace and taking steps towards de-escalation. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's advisor said that Donald Trump administration is seeking a quick end to this war and is expecting compromises from both the sides. Washington's plan reportedly involves Ukraine surrendering territory Russia has not won on the battlefield in exchange for security guarantees that fall short of NATO membership. Aircraft based in Poland to protect Kiev is among the ideas on the table. In an interview with Sky News, Ukraine's commander-in-chief accused Russia of using U.S. broker negotiations as a cover to seize more land. He insisted that peace must mean a ceasefire along current battle lines and not ceding land.
We are a military people. Our main mission is to defend our land, our country, and our population. Naturally, for us, it is unacceptable to simply give up territory. What does it even mean to hand over our land? This is precisely why we were fighting. So we do not give up our territory.
Now, on Friday, Moscow warned that a new European Union plan to use frozen Russian assets to fund Ukraine will have consequences. Russian ambassador to Germany said that using these sovereign assets without Moscow's consent would amount to theft. Belgium, where most of the assets are held, raised serious legal concerns. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz met with Belgian leaders and the European Commission to discuss the same. He called the talks constructive and said that the plan, or any plan, must ensure all EU states share the same risks. Now, sources say that G7 and European Union are discussing replacing the Russian oil price cap with a full ban on maritime services for Russian exports. The move aims to further cut Moscow's oil revenue by blocking the use of Western tankers and shipping services. And on the other hand, the United States wants Europe to take over the majority of NATO's conventional defense capabilities, from intelligence to missiles, by 2027. European officials call the deadline unrealistic.
From European allies since 2016. And the decision to produce trillions more for our common defense to make us stronger and
Okay.
an assertive grouping of adversaries.
Now, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has lambasted the European Union for slapping a $140 million fine on social media platform X. In a post on the social media platform, Rubio said that the fine isn't just an attack on X, but also an attack on all American tech platforms and citizens by foreign governments. He further added that the days of censoring Americans online forever are over. Now, following this, X's CEO Elon Musk reacted to the European Union's fine by calling it crazy. He also alleged that the EU is personally attacking him. Meanwhile, an anonymous user on X with the name Doge Designer has claimed that the EU offered the social media giant an illegal secret deal in 2024. As per the deal, the European Union said that they would not fine tech and other social media platforms like X if they had quietly censored speech without telling anyone. The post from the anonymous user reportedly added that other platforms had accepted the deal, while X did not comply to the same. All right, moving on, a gradual return to the Red Sea route after long detours around the Cape of Good Hope is a key thing to watch for in container shipping next year. That return would first lead to congestion in European ports, which would be followed by intensified rate pressures and then a stabilization in costs. In this next report, we decode that and more. Take a look. Container lines deciding to navigate back to the Red Sea is arguably the most important development to watch for in the global shipping market next year. And it's not a matter of if, but when. And should one big company decide it's worth the risk, others will surely follow. The Suez Canal has been a vital link for modern east-west trade for decades, handling over 15% of global goods trade, and up to twice that share of global container traffic, particularly consumer goods. Detouring around the Cape of Good Hope has been a common practice for most container vessels for nearly 2 years. The change came after Houthi attacks in the Red Sea region that began in late 2023. Now, this unprecedented avoidance has now lasted far longer than expected. That triggered a rebound in container rates and liner profit margins after their sharp decline from elevated pandemic levels in 2023. Resuming Red Sea transit saves more than 3,000 nautical miles and roughly 10 days of sailing on the Asia Northwest Europe route. Over time, this will significantly free up vessel capacity, as the detour currently absorbs around 6% of global fleet capacity on top of frequent delays. That's why a return will make waves, just as the massive diversion initially did. Following the Gaza ceasefire deal in October, companies no longer rule out returning to the Red Sea. Shipping firms have indicated their intention to do so as soon as conditions allow. But the latest data shows Red Sea shipping has yet to recover. Returning to the Red Sea route would be a logical move, but it is also the elephant in the room. Efficiency in customer supply chains will eventually benefit from the reopening passage, and so will fuel consumption and greenhouse emissions that peaked due to the extra miles. But a return to the previous norm will first come with new disruption. Vessels arriving earlier than expected could trigger port congestion. They may once again clog container terminals and cause delays for ships and empty containers across supply chains. Container liners might blank sailings to mitigate this effect, but overall freight rates could rise, especially if this shift coincides with the Chinese New Year. Business Bureau Report, WION The World. Now, the United States and Canada have issued a joint cybersecurity alert, warning that Chinese-linked hackers are using advanced malware to break into government and information technology systems. Now, the malware, identified as Brickstorm, has allegedly helped the attackers stay inside networks undetected for months. The advisory was released by the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the National Security Agency, and the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. According to authorities, hackers have targeted multiple government services and its networks, gaining deep access that has allowed them to steal credentials, monitor systems, and potentially take control of computers. In one confirmed incident, attackers used Brickstorm and infiltrated a company in April 2024 and maintained access until at least September 2025. China has dismissed the accusations, with its embassy in Washington stating that Beijing does not support cyber attacks, calling the claims irresponsible and without evidence. Now, Broadcom has confirmed that it is aware of the incidents and has urged users to keep security patches updated. Google's threat intelligence team has also tracked related intrusions across legal services, software providers, and business outsourcing companies. According to CISA, the advisory and malware analysis reports are based on 8 Brickstorm samples obtained from targeted organizations. And football fans are in for a blockbuster weekend. The 2025 MLS Cup final pits Messi's Inter Miami against Thomas Müller's Vancouver Whitecaps. Two World Cup champions, two legends, and a clash that has the world talking. 38-year-old Messi delivered exactly what Inter Miami had hoped for. He led the club to its first MLS Cup final and set a new all-time assist record of 405 along the way. And during the regular season, the Argentine captain scored 29 goals and provided 19 assists. He kept up his form in the postseason, adding 6 goals and 7 more assists to his remarkable campaign. Messi teammates Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets are set to retire after the end of the season.
Messi to Silvetti. Silvetti across Messi's header.
Messi and Müller don't need a win to prove themselves. Their legacies are already secure. Both are World Cup Champions League and Club World Cup winners. But like Messi, Müller came to MLS just 4 months ago. He's hungry for a title in this league to add to his list. The head-to-head favors Müller. He has won 7 of their 10 meetings. Now this includes 2 big wins with Bayern Munich over Barcelona in 2013 and 2020.
At the moment, I rank it the number 1 because it's the only final that we are talking about. It's upcoming. I didn't play, you know what I mean? At the moment, for me, this final on Saturday is the most important thing in my life. That's a good line, huh?
Nice.
Boom.
Nice. That's a nice one.
Major League Soccer has gained global stature with the arrival of superstars like Messi, Müller and Heung-min Son. Football is carving out a stronger presence in the U.S. market, long dominated by baseball and basketball.
Our league is more global than ever before. Our roster features players from 80 different countries, more than any other league in any sport around the world. And global superstars, as we all know, are making MLS their league of choice. On Saturday, the greatest player to ever play the game, Lionel Messi, will go up against another World Cup champion and one of the world's most decorated players in Thomas Müller to win it.
And that's all on World Day for today. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side of this very short break. Keep watching WION What is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.